right, everybody, get ready, because today we are taking a deep dive into something really wild. UI TARS.
UI TARS.
Yeah, UI TARS. It's
Yeah.
this new AI model that can basically interact with graphical user interfaces.
Right.
All those buttons, menus, and windows.
The things we use every day.
Yeah, exactly. The things that we click, tap, and swipe on our computers and our phones all the time.
Yeah.
It can interact with those just like a human can.
It's crazy to think about, right? Like,
It is.
imagine an AI that can actually, like, book your flights for you,
Yeah.
fill out forms online, play games.
No way.
Yeah.
This is like real. This is not like science fiction.
Nope. This is happening right now.
Wow.
And the research paper on this is actually from ByteDance.
ByteDance.
Yeah, the folks behind TikTok.
Oh, wow. So this is something that could be affecting me pretty soon.
It could be affecting all of us pretty soon.
Okay, so I am interested. But what makes this different from like all the other AI assistants that we've seen before?
So that's the really fascinating part, is that UI TARS learns in a completely new way.
Okay.
It's way more adaptable. It's way more powerful.
How so?
Instead of being programmed, how we program things usually,
Right.
it actually learns from data almost like a human apprentice would.
So instead of just following instructions, it's actually figuring things out on its own.
Exactly.
Whoa. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, so to really understand how big of a deal this is, we need to take a quick trip down memory lane.
Okay.
Look at how these GUI agents have evolved over time.
All right, rewind. Let's go back. Where did it all begin?
So early on, we had what are called rule-based agents.
Okay.
Like RPAs.
RPAs, okay.
Think of them as like bots, just following strict instructions.
Yeah.
They were good for simple tasks, like, very repetitive tasks, but they were pretty limited.
Okay, so like those old robots in factories, just doing the same thing over and over.
That's a great analogy.
All right.
Then we had, the agent frameworks that came out, powered by large language models, LLMs.
Okay.
These were more advanced, obviously.
Yeah.
But they still needed a lot of, help from humans to actually create, workflows for them.
So they needed a set of instructions, but they were just more complex instructions.
Right, exactly.
Gotcha.
And then UI TARS comes into play.
Yeah.
And UI TARS just throws that out the window.
Throws the rule book out.
Completely.
Yeah.
It's what's called a native agent model.
Okay.
Meaning it learns end-to-end directly from the data.
Wow.
So instead of relying on, all these rules being programmed, it actually learns from interacting with these graphical interfaces.
Like a kid.
Just like humans do.
Watching and doing.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. But how does that actually work? How does it see and understand what's happening on a screen?
So that's where its enhanced perception comes in.
Okay.
And it's actually a multi-layered approach.
Okay.
The first thing it uses is element description.
Element description.
Yeah, so basically it labels everything on the screen.
So like all the buttons and the text boxes and
Every button, every text box, every image, even the tiniest details with crazy precision.
It's like reading the fine print.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
But does it understand how they're all related?
That was my next question. Like, how does it know what the layout of the screen is and everything?
So that's where dense captioning comes in.
Okay.
So UI TARS not only identifies all those elements,
Right.
it actually describes the entire layout of the screen.
Wow.
So think of it like an art critic.
Yeah.
Analyzing a painting, capturing all the spatial relationships, understanding how it all fits together.
So it's not just seeing a bunch of random objects on the screen, it's seeing the whole picture.
The whole picture, exactly.
Wow, okay.
And then it goes even further.
Okay.
It uses what's called state transition captioning.
State transition captioning.
Yeah, and what this means is it can actually detect really subtle changes on the screen.
Okay.
So like a button being pressed, a new window opening.
Wha-
Slight changes in color.
So it's not just looking at the screen, it's also seeing how things change over time.
Exactly. It's paying attention to every little detail.
Okay.
And then to make sure that, it really understands this, they added a few other things during training.
Okay.
Question answering.
Question answering?
And set of mark prompting.
What?
Yeah, so they can actually ask UI TARS questions about what it's seeing.
Oh, they're testing it.
Testing it,
To
exactly.
see if it really understands.
And they can also link, specific visual markers to elements, making sure it's really grasping, what it's seeing and what that represents.
Okay, so I'm starting to get how all this works together.
Yeah.
So by doing all these things, it's able to like develop a really deep understanding of what it's actually seeing.
Yeah, it's really a remarkable achievement.
Yeah.
And that's just the seeing part.
Okay, so it can see.
We haven't even talked about how it actually interacts with the interface yet.
Okay, so how does it actually do anything like click on things type things?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
that jazz. Like how does it handle all the different ways we interact with our devices?
Right, so that's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
UI TARS uses what's called unified action modeling.
Unified action modeling.
Yeah, and this allows it to basically seamlessly interact
Okay.
across a huge range of devices.
Oh, cool.
So you could be using a Windows PC, a Mac, your iPhone,
What?
your tablet, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It can understand and execute the appropriate actions for each one.
So it speaks the language of each device.
It's crazy.
That's really clever.
And what makes it even more, even smoother
Mm-hmm.
is they actually use a lot of real-world action data for the training.
Okay, so they're not just like theoretically clicking buttons, they're actually seeing how humans do it?
They basically fed it years of human computer usage.
Whoa.
So it's learned from,
Real people.
all sorts of different scenarios.
That's wild. Okay.
So this is just, the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
We talked about how it sees, how it interacts.
Hmm.
But the real game changer is how this thing thinks and learns.
Okay, let's get into that thinking part because that's like the real intelligence part, right? Seeing and clicking is one thing, but like actually thinking, that's a whole other thing.
So this is where it gets super fascinating.
Okay.
UI TARS doesn't just mimic human actions.
Mm-hmm.
It actually seems to exhibit different types of thinking,
Okay.
much like we do.
Okay.
So you know how we have our System 1 thinking,
System 1.
which is like our fast, intuitive response?
Like our gut.
Yeah.
Right?
And then we have System 2, which is slower, more deliberate,
Like the analytical side.
analytical problem solving, yeah.
Gotcha.
UI TARS seems to have both.
Wow. So it's like two minds in one.
Yeah, for like those quick, everyday tasks,
Mm.
it can rely on, its learned intuitions, just like System 1.
Okay.
But for more complex, novel situations,
Yeah.
it can actually tap into System 2 and analyze reason through problems.
Wait, so it can actually like problem solve?
It can problem solve.
How did they teach it to do that?
So to train its System 2,
Mm-hmm.
they did something pretty remarkable.
Okay.
They fed it a massive data set of, get this, 6 million GUI tutorials. GUI tutorials.
What?
It's like giving it a giant library
They're going to college.
of how-to guides for all these digital tasks.
No wonder it can figure things out.
Yeah, so all those things, like imagine filling out like a long form
Yeah.
online.
Mm-hmm.
UI TARS can not only understand each field,
Yeah.
but it can actually recognize its progress
Okay.
and know what information to enter next.
Wow.
It can even try things out virtually
Oh,
before clicking or typing anything.
so it minimizes errors.
Minimizes errors, exactly.
That's amazing.
So it's thinking ahead. It's planning its approach.
It's like having a little strategist in your computer.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it gets even crazier.
Okay, go on.
It uses something called iterative refinement.
Iterative refinement. What's that?
So they basically let it loose on these virtual PCs,
Okay.
and it collects data from its interactions.
Mm-hmm.
It filters out all the bad stuff,
Okay.
reinforces the good stuff.
So it's learning by doing
We do.
trial and error, but with a super smart AI brain.
Exactly. But it goes even further.
Okay. How?
UI TARS can actually learn from its own mistakes.
Whoa.
So they use something called reflection tuning,
Okay.
where they basically show it how to recover from errors.
So if it messes up, it can actually learn from that and do it better next time.
Exactly. It makes it incredibly resilient.
That's incredible.
So this is not just some basic AI assistant. This is like a whole nother level.
My mind is officially blown.
And we're just getting started.
Okay, there's more.
There's so much more to uncover
Okay.
about UI TARS and all its potential.
All right. Well, don't leave us hanging. When we come back, we'll dive deeper into how UI TARS actually performs and explore what this all means for the future of AI. Welcome back. All right, so we've talked about all the amazing things UI TARS can do in theory,
Mm-hmm.
but how does it actually stack up against the competition?
Right. The real question.
Yeah, does it actually work?
Yeah. And I am happy to report
Oh,
UI TARS didn't just pass the test.
okay.
It crushed it.
Really?
Yeah, they ran it through a bunch of benchmarks. Visual WebEnch ScreenSpot Pro,
I'm not familiar with all those.
Android World, all the benchmarks.
Okay.
And it crushed them all.
So give me the highlights. What were some of the really impressive things?
Okay, so on Osworld,
Osworld.
this is, a benchmark that focuses on complex web interactions. The higher the score, the better.
Okay.
UI TARS got a score of 24.6.
24.6. Okay.
That's impressive because it actually outperformed Claude.
Claude.
Yeah. which is the other very powerful AI known for, being really good at this kind of stuff.
So it's like going up against a chess grandmaster and winning.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And it gets even better on Android World, which is all about those mobile app interfaces, navigating those. It scored 46.6.
46.6, okay.
Now, for those who know, GPT-4o is like the big guy in this area.
Okay.
UI TARS just crushed it.
So we're not talking about a small margin. We're talking about a big difference here.
Huge difference, yeah.
Okay.
So GPT-4o scored 34.5.
Okay, so significantly lower.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of us who are not like super into the AI world, like what does that actually mean? Like how is that actually going to make my life better?
Right. So what this means is UI TARS has the potential to, really improve our lives.
Okay.
Think about all those times you've been frustrated with a website.
Yes.
Or a really complicated app.
Yes, constantly.
UI TARS can come in and handle all those tasks for you.
Okay, so it's going to make things a lot smoother, a lot more efficient.
It can make the whole digital world easier to navigate.
Okay, I like that. All right. One thing that I noticed in the paper was this thing called the scaling effect.
The scaling effect.
What is that and why should I care?
So this is a really fascinating aspect of AI development.
Okay.
Basically, they experimented with different versions of UI TARS.
Okay.
With different numbers of parameters.
Parameters.
Yeah, think of it like the building blocks
of
its artificial brain.
Okay.
And what they found is the larger the model, the better it performed.
So basically bigger is better.
In this case, yeah.
Okay.
The 72 billion parameter version was significantly better than all the smaller ones.
Wow. So how big can these things get?
It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
The more parameters an AI has, the more information it can store and process. And that leads to, more complex reasoning, better performance.
Yeah.
So where is the limit?
That's a good question. All right, let's talk about this experiment they did with System 1 and System 2.
Yes.
It seems like they were putting UI TARS's intuition up against its analytical abilities.
Right.
What did they learn?
This experiment was actually really insightful.
Okay.
They basically had UI TARS perform tasks with and without System 2.
Okay.
That deep thinking.
Okay.
And what they found was for those familiar routine tasks, UI TARS actually did worse.
Really?
When it was forced to think too hard.
So sometimes it's better to go with your gut, even for an AI.
So intuition,
Interesting.
learned responses were more efficient in some situations.
So it's not always about like brute force calculations. Sometimes it's about that experience.
Experience and intuition.
But I'm guessing there were times when that deeper thinking was better, right?
Absolutely. When faced with new unfamiliar tasks, System 2 really shined.
Okay.
UI TARS was able to adapt, problem solve.
Okay.
Come up with solutions that System 1 just couldn't.
So we need both.
We need both.
It's like that think fast, think slow.
Exactly.
We need both to really navigate the world.
And UI TARS seems to have figured that out as well.
Okay, so UI TARS is not just a powerful tool. It's like a window into how AI could be in the future.
It really is.
And from what we've seen so far, that future is looking pretty bright.
Looking very bright.
Okay, but like with any new technology, there are some things we need to think about.
Right. There's always considerations.
All right. So when we come back, we'll wrap up our deep dive into UI TARS.
Okay.
By exploring some of those implications.
That was good.
The good and the bad things we need to be thinking about for the future.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. We're back for the final part of our UI TARS deep dive.
Right.
We've seen how it works, how it learns, how it compares to other AI. But now it's time to look ahead. Like, what does UI TARS actually mean for the future?
Yeah. What does this mean for technology? What does this mean for humans?
Yeah.
It's a big question.
It is.
And I think UI TARS represents a major step towards a future where AI is really integrated into our digital lives.
Okay.
It's not just about automating tasks anymore. It's about creating a better relationship between humans and technology.
So no more like struggling with like really bad websites.
Yeah, no more clunky interfaces.
I was spending hours on hold.
Yeah, exactly.
With customer service.
UI TARS could really be that guide.
Yeah.
Helping us navigate all these complexities of the online world.
Okay.
And it's learning and adapting all the time.
Right.
So it can keep up with how fast technology changes.
It's like having a super smart assistant who's always one step ahead.
Yeah.
But, I gotta admit, this whole idea of AI being more human-like, it's kind of freaky.
It can be, yeah.
Are there like downsides we should be thinking about?
It's a good question, and, any powerful technology can be used for good or bad.
Right.
But I think instead of, worrying about these what-if scenarios,
yeah,
let's focus on the things that we can control.
Okay.
How we design, develop, and deploy these systems.
So being responsible
Exactly.
with this powerful tool.
Yeah, we need to make sure AI is developed with transparency and accountability.
Okay. Transparency, accountability.
Yeah, so we can understand how it works.
Yeah.
And address any, unintended consequences.
Okay, so let's go back to like the fun stuff.
Okay.
What are some of the possibilities here? Like, what could UI TARS really do for us?
I mean, the possibilities are huge.
Yeah.
Like, imagine personalized education.
Okay.
Where UI TARS is tailoring lessons to each student.
Oh, wow.
Providing feedback in real time.
So like a personal tutor for everybody.
Yeah, and even helping with research.
Wow. Okay, that would really revolutionize things. What else?
Healthcare.
Okay.
UI TARS could help doctors analyze those medical images.
Yeah.
Maybe lead to faster, more accurate diagnoses.
Yeah.
Even help researchers develop new treatments and cures for diseases.
So we're not just talking about making our lives easier, we're talking about solving some of the world's biggest problems.
Exactly. And for me, one of the most interesting things is how UI TARS can maybe unlock creativity.
Okay.
Imagine AI collaborating with you on a project.
Oh, wow.
Helping you design a website, compose music.
Like an AI muse?
Yeah, it's really blurring those lines between, human and artificial intelligence. And that's why this is such an exciting time.
Yeah.
As AI keeps evolving, we're going to see a lot more of these crazy breakthroughs.
Yeah.
That are going to change how we live, work, and interact with the world.
It's a future full of possibilities.
Yeah.
And a little bit of the unknown.
A little bit, yeah.
But that's what makes it so exciting, right?
It does.
It's up to us to shape this future, use these tools responsibly and ethically to make the world a better place.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This is just the start of the AI revolution.
Yeah.
And UI TARS is really giving us a glimpse of what's to come.
Well, there you have it, everybody. Our deep dive into UI TARS.
It's going to wild ride.
It has this groundbreaking AI that's really changing things up.
Yeah.
And giving us a peek into what the future could look like.
Yeah, keep those minds curious and keep exploring.
Until next time, happy diving.